Welcome to the webinar overview for the Equals Distance Learning Solutions. In this webinar, participants will be guided through supports available for teachers, students, and parents in a distance learning format. Let's get started. While there is no substitute for traditional classroom instruction, Equals provides support so teachers can continue to deliver quality math instruction within a distance learning format. After talking with teachers and administrators, we identified key features important for distance learning. Meeting the diverse needs of teachers, students, and parents is the #1 priority. In addition to identifying the learning needs of the students, this means also identifying the resources available at home and to teachers. The Equals Technology Lesson Center is very useful for distance learning as it provides a web-based tool for teachers to demonstrate lessons and concepts with a large image library of the workmats, vocabulary, action cards, posters, and most of the other print materials from the Equals kit. In addition, parents and students have easy access to the Equals Technology Lesson Center. Parent-friendly activities to be completed at home with students are viewed as an important part of the shared responsibilities of parents and teachers. While this partnership has always been key to education, distance learning heightens its importance. What parents complete with their children in Equals Math is much more interactive than just completing a worksheet. The at-home materials and activities are directly linked to what is being taught or has been taught within Equals lessons. When parents have the opportunity to view the lesson with the teacher on the Equals Technology Lesson Center, they can carry out the home activity with greater confidence. When it is not possible for parents to access the internet to view a lesson, the parent-friendly language, tasks, and recommended materials found at home can support parents completing the activity with their child with greater ease. All students benefit from use of concrete materials in math. For students with low incidence or cognitive disabilities, concrete materials are a must for learning math. AbleNet has created a long list of options for materials typically found at home to be used during the lessons and activities so students have hands-on experiences with math concepts while being taught virtually. We do recognize that all students will not have access to technology at home. With that in mind, we have options available so no student will be left out. Finally, for additional support, we have started a series training of videos for teachers and parents. There are multiple teacher training options through our Fidelity Success program. However, additional training is available for distance learning, technology, and meeting specific student needs, including motor and language support. Parents also have training opportunities. The Equals Technology Lesson Center Parent Guide webinar provides an overview of the Equals Technology Lesson Center to ensure utilizing this resource at home is as simple as possible. There is also a parent training series which supports parents in connecting math access and learning to their child's world by utilizing chores and other common home activities and linking them to the problem-solving process. If there is no internet connection, but there is a computer at home, this video can be downloaded from the internet and placed on a USB port and sent to the parent. The AbleNet curriculum team has created 3 options for distance learning. The first option is the Equals Quick Access. During this option, the teacher teaches full lessons using the Equals Technology Lesson Center and/or video demonstrations, while the parent is observing and involving their son or daughter during the lesson demonstration with materials that are commonly found at home. Teachers then assign homework based on the lesson taught. Here's an example of the teacher using a web conferencing software, sharing the screen, and demonstrating the lesson concepts virtually using the Equals Technology Lesson Center. Parents assist the student with concrete materials on the table, following the teacher. Use of web conferencing software can often be recorded so students can review at other times. All materials on the Equals Technology Lesson Center are available for students to practice concepts on their own, or they can use concrete materials and follow along on a recorded version of the session. During distance learning lessons, students use manipulatives typically found in the home. To support teachers and parents with identifying items, we have created a long list of materials that can be used for counting, the 4 operations, graphing, geometry, measurement, data, and algebra. Parents use the list and choose 1 to 2 materials they may have readily available at home to support the lesson concept with their child after watching the teacher model concepts with equals manipulatives. For example, a muffin tray can be used to support graphing lessons. Straws can be used as counters or provide borders as needed. Cans and boxed items from the pantry are great environmental examples of three-dimensional shapes. Dried pasta or toy counters, along with an egg carton with the last 2 cups cut off, can be used as a 10 frame to support students when making sets to 10. Students then have the advantage of seeing tools chosen specifically for understanding and also use materials connected to their home, bolstering that connection of math from school to home and the idea that math is everywhere. When they return to school, the equals manipulatives will be there, a unifying link as they return to math in their classroom. The second option is the equals extension e-learning. During this option, the teacher extends learning about a current lesson or previously taught lessons as a way to review and maintain concepts taught during the year. Extension lessons are short, interactive activities the teacher demonstrates using the Equals Technology Lesson Center or presentation slide templates and web conferencing software. Parents and students observe and interact with the materials at home to complete a home task as homework. An example of the lesson extensions are here on the left, and options of hands-on materials for parents are listed on the right. The items on this list are organized by lesson and are ones that would typically be found in a home. Every extension lesson has a lesson identifier listed along the top. Teachers should teach the extension lessons only after the listed extension lessons have been taught. Extension lessons are organized into a teacher portion and a home task portion. The teacher portion is listed along the top. Teachers use the Equals Technology Lesson Center or presentation templates to complete the extension lesson activity as listed. These activities reinforce the lesson concepts taught within the listed lesson objectives. While the teacher is demonstrating the extension activity, parents are supporting their child's engagement using the During Extension Lesson material list. The option list below lists possible items that parents can choose from based on their students' interest, size for safety, and ease of use and availability. After the teacher has completed the teacher portion, the home task is assigned. Parents use the model during the teacher portion to complete the home task with their child. The home material list is used by parents to know the materials that will be required during this portion. The third and final option is the equals focus on review and skill maintenance. This option is especially useful when technology is not readily available. In this option, packets are printed and provided to parents to complete with their child at home. Teachers assign specific activities from page 4 of the equals lessons that have been previously taught. Home letters included within the curriculum are provided to give parents additional home-based activities to reinforce lesson concepts. Teacher and parent packets are sent with materials from the current lesson and previous 4 lessons the student has covered in class. This provides the student with an opportunity to continue to review skills and show their parents what they have been learning in class. Printing and delivery of physical materials is at the discretion of the school district, program, or individual teacher. Remember, each option can be tweaked to make room for unforeseen variables and specific student needs. It is important to know that options can be combined to provide additional support. Parent support is an important part of distance learning success. We also have short parent videos covering how to access the Equals Technology Lesson Center, as well as supporting problem solving at home. During this section of our webinar, we will cover applying the distance learning supports to implementing an equals math lesson. For this example today, I will be using the equals lesson 2B2 with the lesson objective, constructing sets to 5. During a typical lesson component training for equals, we go step by step through the lesson components. While the philosophy of the lesson components remains the same during distance learning, the process is going to change if you are teaching from a remote setting. As a reminder, page 1 is all about building and activating background knowledge. The first activity is vocabulary review. During vocabulary review, we would typically make a concrete connection with students. Well, this can still be accomplished via webcam. However, your materials may be different than what is listed in the lesson if you do not have access to your equals kit. In this example, we are reviewing the vocabulary word 5. The purpose of this activity is to show students what 5 means using concrete objects. As shown here, wooden cubes are placed in a plastic bag to represent a set of 5. Once the set of 5 is created, a pick symbol is placed on the bag to connect the vocabulary word to the concrete connection made. If teachers were able to bring the manipulative kit home, equals manipulatives, of course, can be used as a demonstration. However, if manipulatives are not readily available, instead of using wooden blocks, you could use something from the at-home materials list for this lesson. For example, toy cars may be something I have readily available at home, so I can use cars to represent a set of 5. Be thoughtful about the manipulatives you choose to substitute for e-learning lessons. In this particular vocabulary review, a specific material is not necessary. We are really focusing on the meaning of the numeral 5. Other concrete connections within the curriculum may not be as flexible with the materials, but it is important to remember that you can make thoughtful substitutions as these opportunities present themselves. A review game is next. The game on page 1 in any equals lessons will give students a chance to review and apply skills they have learned. Most games could be played during e-learning as well. Look for a spinner app or web-based solutions to stand in for the alternate spinner if you do not have access to yours. Simply searching the word spinner on Google will give you a basic spinner for amounts 1 to 6. Customizable spinners can also be found as well. Game boards as well as pawns can also be found on the Equals Technology Lesson Center. An important student support within the Equals Math curriculum are the action cards. During lessons, when students think about the action needed to solve a problem, action cards are presented as a choice to support students in taking that first step when engaging with the materials out on the table. During lessons, both in classroom and distance learning, be sure to act out each action as best you can with the materials you have out for your demonstration. For in-classroom lessons, action cards should be placed out on the table and modeled and used with the Equals Kit materials. But during distance learning lessons, the action cards are available within the Equals Technology Lesson Center and can be placed on the workspace to support students during lesson demonstrations. Action cards appear multiple times throughout a lesson. Seeing the action cards acted out each time provides students with a clear understanding of the action and how it is related to the materials out on the table. This simplifies the task of choosing an appropriate action to solve a problem. Action words appear next to the lesson components in parentheses. All action words can be found within the Action Dictionary. The Action Dictionary is also the kind of support that can be improvised at home. Most of these adaptations are low-tech and can be quickly adjusted for use at home using home materials to support parents who are working with their child during distance learning lessons. This is another resource that is digital and can be sent home to parents to support their son or daughter's successful engagement during their home lessons. If you decide to send home the Action Dictionary, I recommend choosing 1 or 2 action words to send home to parents as opposed to sending the entire document home. Remember, with distance learning, it is especially important to make thoughtful substitutions when necessary. The math dash from 2B2 is a perfect example. This activity uses subitizing cards and a stacked number line. Without equals materials at home, we have access to neither. Teachers can utilize the materials they have on hand at home to demonstrate the lesson activity, or this is a perfect opportunity to incorporate the Equals Technology Lesson Center. In this particular activity, subitizing cards and connecting cubes are used to represent sets to 5 on the stacked number line. During the activity, students and teachers are expected to make sets to match the subitizing card given. During distance learning, a teacher can use the Equals Technology Lesson Center with dice pattern cards, action cards, and images of cubes to meaningfully represent the lesson activity digitally. If the student has a parent sitting with them, they can be making sets at home with materials from the home list, or you can make sets on screen for the students to choose from. As you prepare distance learning lessons, we need to consider the essence of this lesson component. Math Dash is the first time students get to work with this new objective directly. It provides a glimpse of things to come while also introducing math tools, problem-solving strategies, or building background knowledge. During the poster and cards activity, teachers promote discussion about the theme and lesson-related concepts. This is one activity that can really be enhanced through distance learning. The theme posters and equals are intended to provide a context for the objective. In this particular lesson, we are working with the ocean poster. In addition to the ocean poster, the Equals Technology Lesson Center has a wide variety of images related to each theme. Teachers can add fish or other ocean life to the workspace. Now we can have a thoughtful conversation about the kinds of creatures that live in the ocean. The lesson can even be further expanded by providing ocean sounds or videos from the internet. Bringing this real-life space to the student provides a connection to the problems the students will be solving later in the lesson. I would strongly recommend making a list of tools students do not have physical access to at this time. When school resumes, you can spend some time with the students introducing these tools so they know how to use them in the lessons later in the curriculum. During math tools, the teacher is modeling the math tools and strategies students will be using on the next page of the lesson while problem solving. During this activity, teachers and students are exploring the 5 frame with different counters and practicing placing one counter in each space to make a set of 5. Again, the concrete connection can be shown and reviewed to support students' understanding during this activity. During distance learning, this can be done as a video demonstration utilizing the listed materials, or you can incorporate the Equals Technology Lesson Center to show digital versions of the math tools and theme images to construct a set to 5. It is important to note the math tools activity is meant to be a modeling opportunity for your students to see how the math tools and manipulatives are used. Make sure to provide enough time during this activity to model as indicated, but also to provide your students with time after your model to explore the materials as well. Show and tell is the last activity on the first page. During show and tell, you are taking math notes with students. Once again, the Equals Technology Lesson Center can be our main support within a distance learning setting. Be sure to use a format that will be most meaningful for students. If students do not read, use less text and more images to complete number notes. Incorporate any images that have been previously used in lesson demonstrations to strengthen connections. Here's an example of this activity using the Equals Technology Lesson Center. We have been learning about the action words move, place, and count, and the vocabulary words 5 and 5 frame. We can use these tools to show what we know about 5 and 5 frame. I know I can use a 5 frame to show a set of 5 cubes. What do you know about a 5 frame or the numeral 5? Now, after the teacher shows what they know by placing a representation on the number notes poster, the teacher can then show what students know by asking them to use the images on the Equals Technology Lesson Center workspace to communicate what they have learned so far about the lesson objective. As students respond, the images can be moved right onto the digital number notes poster and personalized with student names. Another option is for parents and students to use the Equals Technology Lesson Center on their own computer and share their screen to show what they know. Teachers may also find it helpful to make this activity interactive with their students. Prior to completing the number notes activity, teachers may assign students homework to locate the lesson objective within their home environment. Then students can send those photos via email to the teacher. The teacher can then compile those photos onto a presentation slide, as shown here, to show what everyone has found at home. Although the number notes poster is not used on the slide, the essence of the number notes activity is still intact. Teachers can still ask the questions from the lesson. What do you know about the lesson objective and what do you want to know? And students can then use the items they have readily available to show their math learning and their math knowledge. As we move on to page 2, the supports here will be largely the same as the previous page. The first activity is vocabulary, where you are once again making a concrete connection, but this time it is for a new vocabulary word. Adjust your activity for the first page based on what you have found successful and encourage parents to complete a concrete connection at home with their child if possible. Completing these with students and parents at the same time can be a great activity to really bring everyone together. The Solve poster can be used within the Equals Technology Lesson Center to solve problems. Remember, you can pare language down in the problems as long as you keep to the essence. Here's an example of a full problem from the Think About It activity on the second page. Mrs. Lewis took her family to the beach. There were 5 family members. She needed to make sure that each person got a sandwich for lunch. How did Mrs. Lewis make the right amount of sandwiches? Well, we can pare that down and even pick symbol support it right here in the Equals Technology Lesson Center. The new problem is listed within a text box here. Mrs. Lewis needed to make 5 sandwiches for her family members. How did Mrs. Lewis make the right amount of sandwiches? Notice I have used the images included from the Equals Technology Lesson Center to pick symbol support the problem. To complete the first step of the Solve poster, identify facts, pick symbols above the text can now be added to the Solve poster to list facts from the problem. I know Mrs. Lewis needed to make 5 sandwiches. The second step in the Solve poster process is to choose the first action to take to solve the problem. This is where you can show the 3 action cards that are listed above the activity and the images supporting the problem on the workspace. As teachers read each action card, a short demonstration of that action can be completed with the tools and images on the workspace to support students in choosing which action to take. Once students have indicated their action, the card and supporting images can be moved to the Solve poster. The third step on the Solve poster is to estimate or predict the solution. Now, to support students in making an estimate or prediction, a choice can be shown on the workspace. The point image can be used to point to each choice, and students can say that's the one I want or that one to indicate their estimate. The estimate or prediction can then be moved to the Solve poster. So we estimate that our solution might look like 5 sandwiches. The fourth step of the Solve poster is to choose the tool and strategy. These strategies and tools have been previously introduced on the first page of the lesson. During the problem-solving activities, students get the chance to see these tools applied from a problem-solving point of view. Be sure to demonstrate each tool and strategy so students can use that demonstration to make their choice. Here's an example of how to demonstrate each strategy.
For our first strategy, we're going to count a set of 5 from a pile of objects. The problem states Mrs. Lewis took her family to the beach. There were 5 family members. She needed to make sure that each person got a sandwich for lunch. How did Mrs. Lewis make the right amount of sandwiches? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mrs. Lewis could count a set of 5. For our second strategy, we're going to count a set of 5 with a tool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mrs. Lewis could use a tool like this 5 frame to count.
Once a strategy is selected, teachers can show the strategy on the Solve poster by utilizing the images on the workspace, including the tools and action cards, or teachers can use a text box to write out the strategy. This can be flexible and adapted to meet your students' need. The final step is the solution. Once teachers demonstrate the strategy to solve the problem, a choice can be provided to engage students when completing this step. The teacher can ask the student which shows the set of 5 sandwiches we counted to solve the problem. Students can then indicate their choice, and that solution can then be moved to the 5th step on the Solve poster. As an additional support for teachers and parents, the AbleNet Equals Math Community Facebook page has strategies listed within the posts. If you are curious as to what a strategy looks like or a demonstration of a math tool being used, please reference the Facebook community page to see if indeed we have a strategy video available. Please note that these lesson strategy videos are not made using the Equals Technology Lesson Center. Additionally, there are videos that are embedded into the Action Dictionary. If you are curious about what some of those adaptations look like from the Action Dictionary, make sure to reference the Action Dictionary videos to get an idea of what that adaptation may look like with your student. The top of page 3 begins with a concrete, semi-concrete, and abstract representational sequence. There is no replacement for a concrete representation, and we should not skip over it. Make sure to demonstrate the concrete representation through live web conferencing or create a short video demonstration using concrete examples. Ask parents to complete at least this representation with their child at home. While it is always best to provide a live demonstration, semi-concrete and abstract can always be completed using the Equals Technology Lesson Center. To get an idea of what the concrete, semi-concrete, and abstract representational sequence will look like in a distance learning setting, during concrete, actual objects, in this case, I have toy cars, can be used to show what making a set of 5 looks like. If you do not have your equals materials available, remember you can always make those thoughtful substitutions as needed. Remember to capture the essence of the lesson objective. During semi-concrete, a digital version of the 5 frame and images of dolphins are used to demonstrate making a set of 5. And during abstract, the teacher can use a presentation slide and the draw tool to show how to write the numeral 5. As I am writing the numeral 5, I can have a discussion with my students as to how 5, the numeral 5, can represent an amount. It represents an amount of 5. After students have viewed this sequence, let them practice demonstrating the lesson objective with the materials that they have at home. After the CSA sequence, a skill worksheet is to be completed. Worksheets can be printed and sent home for students to complete. Worksheets can also be completed digitally through a program that will allow for annotations, or alternatively, manipulatives can be set up by parents for the student to complete in a concrete way. Teachers may also find it helpful to take a screenshot of the worksheets from the members-only files to be copied and pasted onto a presentation slide. Teachers can then make multiple copies of that one worksheet and crop it down into different parts. For example, here I've taken one worksheet and I've cropped it 3 different times so that I can show different items from the worksheet. Students can then use the shapes that I have placed out on the slide and then move those shapes over their answer to indicate their knowledge. Those slides can then be shared back with me as the teacher so that I can take note of their learning during this particular activity. Looking now at the problem-solving part of the lesson, the problem can still be represented on the Equals Technology Lesson Center, as well as the tools and action cards and solve poster. Always remember it is okay to model how to use these tools and action cards before asking students to solve a problem. Students can then use digital resources on their screen, concrete objects from home, or tell you how to solve the problem while you move the items on the screen. Once students have a chance to demonstrate the solution, provide the problem-solving worksheet for them to record their solution either digitally or by printing it out and completing at home. As a reminder, students can use the materials at home to demonstrate their solution to the problem. As the at-home materials list is a rather long list, I recommend only sending home the list that relates to the concept you are working on. During the closed part of the lesson, the Learned Workmats and number notes posters are used. The Learned Workmats are a digital resource. This can be incorporated as well into a presentation slide format for students to show what they have learned during the lesson. You can set these slides up by taking screenshots of the images and math tools from the Equals Technology Lesson Center, and then students can then manipulate those copy and pasted images on the slide to show what they have learned on the Learned Workmat on the slide. Another part of closing out the lesson is students recording what they have learned on their own number notes page. You may choose to create a math journal for each student to support this activity. As a reminder, you can ask students to create their own slide showing what they have learned during the lesson by taking photos of the lesson objective or the work that they have been doing at home and importing it right onto the slide. Their slides can then be presented to the whole group at the end of the lesson to show each other what they have learned. Page 4 provides students multiple opportunities to apply and practice math skills in everyday and real-world activities. The partner problem-solving worksheets can be added to a presentation program such as a PowerPoint or Google Slides, where students could then tell you how to complete those problems or even use the edit mode on a pre-made slideshow to make their own problem. This provides a paperless option. The games, as I showed earlier, can be completed on the Equals Technology Lesson Center, and the other activities on this page are great for additional practice that parents can complete at home with their child as well. To continue to foster learning at home and supporting parents with reinforcing the concepts taught during the lesson, home letters can be sent home. Home letters are available for every section in the curriculum. The advantage of home letters is they are all-inclusive with home materials built into the activity or ones that can be easily found at home. An additional option that teachers may find helpful is to create a digital math journal for each student. Each slide can be representative of an equals math lesson activity. As you complete each activity during your in-classroom instruction, you can provide a slide for your students to complete as a home task activity. For example, this is the slide that my students would complete after we completed the vocabulary activity for the review vocabulary word 5. I would ask my students to show the meaning of 5 by using materials that they have at home. Parents can then support their student by locating a set of 5, taking a picture, and importing their concrete connection they built at home onto the slide. After teaching the Math Dash activity, I can have my students complete a similar task using images that I've copied and pasted right from the Equals Technology Lesson Center and asking my students to place digital examples of the cubes onto the dice pattern as shown. Now, these digital journals can be printed off, so if you do have students who might not have access to the internet, you can always make these slides printer friendly and ask students to cut out the digital cubes and place them directly on the image of the dice pattern that you have on the slide. For the poster and cards activity, you can show the theme poster and have students click and drag the circle to mark the set of 5 they see on the poster. Audio can be embedded into the slide to read the directions for those students who may need that additional support. Do you see a set of 5? What can we count on the poster? As you begin to think about using a digital math journal, remember to start slow. If you're only going to choose a few activities to utilize the digital math journal with your students, I would recommend beginning with the vocabulary word activity and the number notes activity. Those are both great opportunities for the students to engage with the materials that they have at home, and it's a really nice way to ease into utilizing the digital math journal to support your distance learning lessons. Our last topic during our webinar are the extension lessons. As a reminder, the extension lessons are ones that should be taught after equals lessons have been taught so that you can extend the learning that has been, Once equals lessons have been taught, you can then move into the extension lesson for that particular lesson. Since we have just completed 2B2 and before that 2B1, we can use the extension lesson 2B1 and 2B2. The directions are listed right in the lesson, and you have a materials box in gray that is split into 3 different parts. The first part of the materials box on the left are vocabulary words. These are the vocabulary words that have been taught in the equals math lessons listed on this extension lesson page. The second section in the materials box are the materials that are provided by you as the teacher. Notice that the materials listed are somewhat vague. This was done purposefully so that you can use the materials you have readily available at home. Within the equals tech portion of the materials box, we have all of the listed images you will need to locate within the Equals Technology Lesson Center. Images are listed as they will be found within the Equals Technology Lesson Center. For example, the first image is for the point hand gesture. You are looking for the hand gesture of a pointing finger. To find this, simply search the word point into the Equals Technology Lesson Center search box. Here's the teacher demonstration for the extension activity in action. I have set up the Equals Technology Lesson Center using the directions from the extension activity. Keep the objective in mind when you are completing these extension activities. This particular extension lesson covers 2 lesson objectives, which are count sets of 5 and construct sets of 5. While I am completing this extension activity, I am pointing and counting to the 5 fingers on the hand using the point image. I then ask my students how many. My students reply and say 5. 5 fingers. I can then place a digital cube on each finger and count the cubes. After, I ask my students how many cubes. The students answer 5 cubes. I'll then remove the cubes and place them on a 5 frame. I can then say, I will count the amount in the set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many cubes? 5 cubes. This is then repeated with amounts 1 through 4 and other images that a student might request or choose. Notice there is a home task listed below that parents can complete with their child. Pictured here is an example of completed home tasks for this extension lesson. Parents are to work with their child to trace their hand. Then a student would choose a counter they have at home to place on each finger to count and construct a set to 5. Once complete, the parent takes a photo of the activity and sends it to the teacher. The teacher can then compile the photos and present them the next time they meet as a way to review and reinforce the concept. Now, for some of our extension lessons, slideshow templates have been created. These slideshow templates are just another tool that teachers can use. The templates come with examples and instructions. Teachers can follow the directions to create slides to support their lessons. Slides have been created in PowerPoint, but can absolutely be incorporated into other presentation software such as Google Slides or Apple Keynote. For example, these slides show the relationship between line segments and shapes. Teachers can then create their own with as many examples as they would like. On this template, students can see how equal parts from a whole shape are used. As noted, teachers can modify the templates to meet the needs of their students. On this slide and the next, students decide which side of the scale has more and which has less. Then the answer is revealed. On this slide, students decide if one side has more and one side has less, or if the amounts are equal. As we conclude our webinar and you begin to think about getting started with the Equals Math curriculum within a distance learning setting, consider all of the resources that you have available. Remember to continue to teach the Equals Math lessons at the appropriate starting point for each student. Remember to include the Equals Technology Lesson Center and video demonstrations as much as possible to support your instruction. Materials you might consider sending home to support your instruction are the at-home materials list, the Equals Math home letters that relate to the exact chapter and section that you are teaching, and the extension lessons. Some things to keep in mind as we wrap up. Remember that pacing will be different from the traditional school year. It is very likely you will not get through a lesson in the same amount of time. The amount of knowledge gained through distance learning will likely be less as well. This goes for all students, regardless of age or disability. You simply cannot replace hands-on experiences. Make thoughtful substitutions. This is a good strategy when teaching equals and a necessary strategy when teaching equals from a distance learning format. We simply cannot expect teachers or parents to have all of the needed materials. Use the materials list for options of manipulatives to use. Use all of the provided materials. As a reminder, remember to utilize your extension lessons, your at-home material list to support parents in identifying materials that they have at home that can be used to support your instruction. And finally, contact us with any questions that you might have. If you need additional materials or some suggestions on ways to present materials to students virtually, we are here to help. As we conclude this webinar, I would like to thank you for your time today. If you have any questions, please contact us on the curriculum team at curriculum@ablenetinc.com. We look forward to hearing from you.